Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of What's Your Story Live. We are on episode 3, and it has been an incredible few weeks. And I'm so excited that you are joining us tonight. Now, tonight's story is definitely one that is going to encourage you, challenge you. It's going to have your jaw on the floor, but then it's also going to move you, and it's going to allow you to see the power of somebody being able to heal their story so that they can now thrive and live on purpose. And so I am just so excited. But I didn't do my intro, but if this is your first time, What's Your Story is a space where we journey along the stories of others so that you, the listener, and the person watching can be inspired and encouraged and challenged to want to know, own, and share your own story. And it's a safe space. It's a place where people are encouraged and where they're inspired to move and where they support the person sharing their story. And we do that in the comments. So if you are tuning in, you know what to do. Go ahead and jump in and say hi. Let me know you're here. I'm going to be with you in the comments. But if this is your first time, tell me where you're watching from. I'd love to say hi to you. I'd love to connect and to know where you are tuning in from. Now, I'm not going to do a lot of I'm not going to do a did you know, and we're just going to jump right into the story now. Today, I'm so excited and privileged to get a chance to sit with Leticia Francis and have her share her story with you all. So I'm going to go ahead and bring her on. Leticia. Hello. It's so good to have you on today. So let's just jump right in. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and we'll go from there.
Sure, I am a business mindset coach focused on helping new Black coaches sign consistent clients. And I do that through my proprietary method, the VAR system, which really has proven to be successful and really helps my clients, first of all, get their mind right so they can implement the strategy
Mm.
that is required for success.
Love it. Love it. So tell me, let's just jump right in. So tell me, what's your story?
My story, I am originally from Bermuda, and at the
Hey.
I'm out in there living in England now.
Oh my goodness.
So originally from Bermuda. At the age of 7, my parents, well, my mom was getting remarried, and I remember questioning why my parents were no longer together. And I was told by
Mm,
a family member that my birth was the reason for my parents' divorce.
no.
So
Mm.
that literally set me up on a landslide downwards.
Oh my
And
goodness.
I spent years looking for love, looking for attention, looking for affection because both of my
Mm.
parents remarried and both of their spouses made it known they didn't really want anything to do with me. So I was
Oh,
kind of left in between two family units, kind of finding my
wow.
way, which resulted in me being in a relationship with a man twice my age at the age of 14.
Mm.
Um,
Oof.
And what's funny is Bermuda is a very small place. So your neighbors know more about you than you do. And very quickly, my mom found out about him.
Oh
So
wow.
she did a background check and she had come to me and she was like, you know, this guy is a dangerous man and you need to stay away
Wow.
from him. And I was like, whatever. I don't have the
Of
best
course.
relationship with her. And this relationship was really something that created an out for me in the environment that I was living in. And I wouldn't say
Mm.
it was bad, but her husband is an idiot. And that's the
Mm.
nicest way that I can
You
put
can
it.
say that. Yeah.
And he made my distance between my mom feel like a canyon. You know what I mean?
Right. So the little bit of distance that there was even greater as a result of this relationship.
Absolutely.
Mm.
So when I was 15, he choked me for the first time. And I remember saying to myself, like, this is not life. This is not what a relationship should
Mm.
look like. I
Wow.
packed up my stuff, whatever I had in his house, I packed it up into a trash bag and I left. But
Oh my
now I
goodness.
don't have an out. I'm back with my mom. I don't have
Sure.
this escape. And I like, if I had to describe myself during that time, I was definitely a volcano. You could not say anything to me without me absolutely erupting. And I
Wow.
was shipped between families until
Mm.
my father told him, if it's true, because I don't believe it is
Mm.
now, but
Sure.
he told me that his wife didn't want to raise any more children, so
Oh
I had
wow.
to go back to my mom. And that wasn't the
Whew.
best environment. Like I said, my mother's husband, there was a suicide attempt with me um
Mm.
when I was 15, and he literally mocked me trying to kill myself.
No,
Yeah, and I
Letitia.
remember going to the hospital. My mom was like so angry, like, why would you kill yourself? And my response was, why did you sit there and watch me do it? So
Wow.
the anger that I had after the suicide attempt was tenfold.
I can
And
imagine.
eventually, um, I ended up getting into a physical fight with my mom. And that
Mm.
resulted essentially in me receiving a restraining order and being removed from the house with nowhere to go.
You.
So, yeah, removed. I had to go. I got a letter from
Wow.
my mom's lawyer saying that I had to go.
Oh.
So I hit my mama. I'm not going to any of my family members because, the child is
Right.
always wrong, you
Yes.
know,
Unfortunately, sure.
and I had no other choice but to reach out to this man that I had broken up with. And he
Of
quickly took me back, like, let me
course.
save you from your problems, but let me also remind you that your parents don't love you enough to make sure that
Yeah.
you have a roof over your head and you owe me. So
Mm.
I'm back in this man's house. I'm really stuck between a rock and a hard place. I'm not old enough to get an apartment for myself.
Oof.
So what do I do? Like,
Yeah.
am I homeless, or do I stay here and deal with the psychological abuse and the physical abuse that came with the agreement of living with him?
Living there.
When I was 19, I married him, and
Oh
the
my goodness.
abuse that I endured was a lot worse. He basically made a statement one day that I was his property. He could do whatever he liked with me.
Oh,
During that time, I was
mercy.
working in law enforcement. And when I like tell people that I was, abused and going through a
Mm.
whole lot, the automatic response is, well, why didn't you utilize the resources that were right in front of you? But I said
Mm.
earlier, in Bermuda, your neighbors know more about your business than you do.
Yeah.
And the worst thing for me was having to go to work every day, knowing that my coworkers knew about my business.
Yes. Mm.
I
So
watched
hard.
police officers gossip about people, make jokes about what people were
Oh,
going through. So there was no way that I trusted the system to keep
right.
my business quiet.
Right.
So years went on and I endured a lot. But there was a significant day for me. I remember coming home from work and I could not find myself in. I was so
Mm.
busy at work that you don't have time to check your phone, right?
Yes.
And did I leave the phone at work? Did I leave it at home? I don't know where it was. And I remember
Mm.
one of my friends calling my landline and asking me for advice. She was in an abusive relationship with a heroin addict. She didn't know what to do.
Wow.
And I was that girl that gave all the best advice.
Oh.
Like, I'm gonna tell you what you need to do to get your life
Oh.
together.
Oh.
But I never listened to myself, right?
Sure.
This night, I remember picking up a book by Ian Levenzek called Until Today and
Mm.
randomly opening a page and reading this passage about how we struggle with interpersonal relationships because sometimes we're trying to keep someone in our lives that's not meant to be there for a lifetime. They're meant to be there for a reason or a season. And as
Mm.
I'm reading this to my friend to offer her encouragement,
Mercy.
I'm feeling like a sinner in church, okay? Because,
It's like a mirror, right? It's
right,
like the first
like,
time you're seeing yourself in this.
yes. And I just knew, I'm like, the reason why this man and I cannot get along is because we're not meant to be together. Like, we're
Mm.
absolutely not meant to be together. And I said that was significant because that night my husband came home. He had my cell phone and he had seen some text messages between me and another man. And he was very angry.
Wow.
He was very drunk. And there was something about the way that he spoke to me that night that I knew that whatever was going to happen next was going to be very bad.
Wow.
So I ran to the landline and I called my mother and I was like, you gotta come get me right now. And I just want to note, like, we didn't have the best relationship then. Like my
Sure.
relationship with my mom was like touch and go for years,
Yeah.
many, many years. And he ripped the landline out of the wall and told me
Mm.
that the only way that I was going to leave there tonight was in a body bag. He
Letitia.
barricaded me in a room, and I remember literally fighting for my life. He had a
Mm.
knife, and it was an out of body experience. There's no other way to explain it, right? It
Sure.
was like watching a movie, watching someone else fight. And there was a moment when I remember seeing the knife come towards me, But in all of the chaos, I never realized that I had been stabbed.
Wow.
We were living with someone at the time, and that person came home in all of that chaos and broke
Oh
into the
my.
barricaded room. And I was able to run out and I fell onto the couch. My husband ran after me and proceeded to try to stab me. And it's gonna seem like I'm making like light of this, but the only
Mm-hmm.
way that I can describe it was like I was in a matrix. Like it was
Sure.
slow motion, like that I
Right.
was able to dodge being stabbed as he straddled me on the couch. And
Wow.
his friend was so concerned about someone calling the police that he kicked me out of the house. He kicked me out.
You're kidding.
No. So I'm standing outside
Oh my gosh.
in the rain, wondering if my mom actually listened to me and was on her way because,
Oh my
like, I
gosh.
don't have a phone. I don't even have clothes in this minute. Like, where am I going in the middle of the night? Luckily, my mom did listen and she pulled up in the car. And when he realized, my husband realized that someone was outside to get me, he started throwing my stuff out the window.
Oh my
So my
gosh.
mom's like chaotic because she realizes that something's happened because I'm bleeding. I don't even realize in this
At
moment
wow.
that I have been stabbed. I process like heat from the blood running down my body, but I was so,
You couldn't
you
register.
know,
Well, your adrenaline
I
was like, whew.
yeah, I couldn't register it. I didn't feel any pain. So his throwing my stuff out the window, and I'm trying to pack everything up into my mom's car.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that he used to do was uh, buy me Louis Vuitton bags. So
Mm.
at early 20s, like
That's
I'm got
right. That's nice.
$20 worth of Louis Vuitton, right?
Right, right.
That was like exciting to me at that age,
Of
right?
course.
And he threw the bag that I had kept my bags in out the window.
Mm.
So when I saw that, I'm like, forget the clothes. Let me get them Louis Vuittons because if nothing else,
Can we sell that?
that's a roof over my head, okay?
Right.
So he realizes that he threw the Louis Vuittons out the window and he comes out with the knife and starts unpacking the car trying to find the Louis Vuitton bags. And at this moment, my mom was like screaming, get in the car, get in the car. So I left and my mom wanted me to go to the hospital. I was like, no, that's a no go. Because I knew if
Wow.
I went to the hospital, the police would be
Someone would
called.
say
It would
something.
be a whole lot of unnecessary
Talking,
for
gossip. Yeah.
me.
Oh,
Yes. So I didn't want to go through that route.
so unfortunate.
So I go to my mom's house and I'm not there for longer than 90 minutes. And she asks me, so what are you going to do? Because you can't stay here. So I've been stabbed. I've managed
Oh
to
my god.
end the bleeding. At this point, there was no way that I could continue the relationship. Like, this is nothing that I could hide. My mom has just seen this man
Yeah.
literally try to kill me,
Kill you.
even if,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So I knew my relationship was over.
Wow.
I didn't like, even if I wanted to stay, I couldn't. Like, there was no way that my
Mm.
mom or my family um would have allowed that. But here I am, stabbed and
And nowhere to
essentially
go.
homeless.
Homeless.
So I called around and I called a women's resource center who told me to go to the nearest police station and someone would escort me to their shelter,
Okay.
which I did. I spent 2 months in a homeless shelter,
Mm.
trying to get my life together, get back on track,
Sure.
still trying to hide what I had been through.
Mm.
And I think I was a little naive because, this is the first time that I've ever been on my own, have had my own responsibilities, had to do anything
Sure.
And actually didn't even know who I was. Like, my identity to this point had been tied to my interpersonal relationship. So if I describe
Mm.
myself to someone, I would say, "Oh, I'm so and so's daughter. Oh, I'm so and so's wife." But who was Letitia?
Mm.
Who was I?
Mm.
And that, not knowing who I was, actually really scared me.
I
I
can
didn't know what
imagine.
to do with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, so I drank. I drank and drank and drank
Mm.
a lot. And I'm not talking about wine after a
Right.
long day. I was drinking bottles of scotch. Like, my coworkers used to laugh at me because I was always drunk. Like, most people would go to work with a hangover. No, I was still fully lit from the night before.
Wow.
My hangovers used to kick in at 3 o'clock. And that was perfect timing because I had a break and I can go and drink again. Like, I
Oh my
literally used to
goodness.
carry around a flask with me. And after about a year of that, like constantly drinking,
Oof.
not knowing how I get home, like,
That's so scary. Yeah.
I realized, like, what is this life? I didn't actually like being drunk.
How did that realization come to you?
It just, one night, I think it was just like, why am I doing this? Because I
Ah.
hate being drunk.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
hate
yeah.
having a hangover. I hate the taste of scotch. Like, why am I doing this?
Right.
And
Such a
in
powerful
that,
question.
yeah, in that moment, I realized I didn't have an answer to that, and I wanted to change what my life looked
Mm.
like, because it had just
Mm.
become this cycle of the same thing every day. And I,
Numbing the pain, just right. Avoidance.
avoidance, self avoidance more than anything, because you just don't want to be
Mm.
alone with your thoughts, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I made the decision that I wanted to go to university. I packed up and I left
Oh,
Bermuda.
good.
I went to Georgia State University to study risk management and insurance.
Okay.
And life was amazing. I got multiple scholarships. I was actually making more money
Okay.
as a student than I was as a full time government employee.
Oh my goodness.
So, like, life was good in
Good.
Atlanta
Yeah.
until I meet this guy.
Hmm.
And I was naive, I must admit. I have been in a very long time relationship. I
Sure.
meet this guy that I have to say I was hesitant about dating him in the first place. Coming from Bermuda, a very small place, if I meet someone, I can quickly do my research. I Within 3 text messages, I know his whole life story. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I couldn't do
Atlantis.
that.
Yeah.
I,
Bigger
I
place.
couldn't do that. I couldn't. And but I was something that I was very nervous about, because I was aware that people could literally live double lives. So I meet this
Mm.
guy who's a DJ. He tells me that, you know, he spends most of his nights out in the club and it's a party atmosphere. So he snorts coke here and there and blah blah blah.
Oh my
But I'm
goodness.
naive. I'm literally naive. I'm lonely. I fall head over heels for this guy. Within a couple of months, I'm living with him. And when I
Wow.
move in with him, I realize, okay, this is not just a couple of nights because you're out in the club trying to stay awake. Like, you literally have a full blown coke problem.
Oh.
And he was aware of the money that I had. He was a long term addict, so he knew how to manipulate me because I was so
Oof.
naive.
Sure. Sure.
I went from very comfortable. Like, I was traveling, like, in school, I only went to school Tuesday through Thursday. That's how my schedule was
Schedule
set
worked.
up
Oh,
the
so you were
whole
living it
time I
up.
was there.
Yeah.
So Thursday night, what
Start of
state are
your
we going
weekend.
to?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Like, I was a partier. And
Um.
I meet this guy, and then all of a sudden that changes because I feel bad for his situation. I don't understand
Mm.
addiction. So after 3 years of in this relationship with this man,
Wow.
I've run out of money. I have to go back home and work so that I can actually have money for my tuition.
Back home, Bermuda.
back home in Bermuda. So I went home
Wow.
for a couple of months to work to get some money. And I decided, you know what, I'm just going to pop up and surprise him. I'm paying for the apartment, I'm paying
Oh,
for all of the bills, and probably and still supporting his drug habit while I'm still in Bermuda.
oh my gosh.
And I surprise him and meet his wife in my apartment that I'm paying for.
Oh my goodness.
That was
Letitia.
the beginning of my last semester at Georgia State, and I made the decision, okay, I'm going to pack up my life and move back to Bermuda, which I
Ooh.
did. I got an amazing job as a catastrophe analyst in commercial insurance, and life was going well. I think my self awareness at that time had become heightened because I realized I keep finding myself in some
In
crazy
some
situations.
situations, yeah.
And I remember having a conversation with one of my friends, and I was like, you know what? I'm just at a place where I just really want a good relationship. So she was like, girl, manifest that. Write down your list of everything that you need.
Put
And
it
I
out
did.
there.
Yeah, I got really serious about it. Like I had 45 things on my list. One of them
Hey.
being that he had to be 6'8", right? So
Going for the ideal, girl. We go shooting for the
listen, I'm
ideal.
5'10". 6'8" would have been
Really?
absolutely perfect. Yes. Couple of weeks later, I meet this guy, and when I say it was like a whirlwind, I felt like I was in a Disney movie. Like there was
No.
nothing about this guy that had me on edge. Like I was in a good place in
Nervous.
my life, and it was like a whirlwind. Within 6 weeks, we were living together. Life was good,
Wow.
and the first year of our relationship was so amazing. Like I felt like, okay, finally, this is what a good relationship looks like, you know?
Mm.
And then one of his family members died. And
Mm.
he had casually mentioned that he had used crack cocaine at one point in time.
No. Oh my goodness.
And I remember after the death of his family member, I was like, let's have a talk about that crack cocaine, right? Let's talk about the
Yeah.
crack.
Sure.
And immediately after that, I remember have noticing a change in his behavior. He became very aggressive. He stopped coming home. And I
Mm.
didn't have to ask. I knew what was
You
happening.
knew.
And I said to him, listen, I can't do this again. What I went through the last time was so
Mm.
bad. Like, I can't do this. So it's either you get it together or I'm out. And I meant
Good for
it.
you asserting your boundaries and setting in that moment.
It sounded so good, right?
Oh my goodness.
And the thing is, now I'm not naive because I know what addiction looks like. I know what's happening here. But
Sure.
the one thing about giving an addict an ultimatum is that they just hide what they're doing, right? And
Yeah.
that's what he did. He hid, and he
Mm.
was bringing meat home. Like he was a chef. He used to cater, so having all this meat in the house wasn't something that would have raised a flag to me. But one day I had gone to his job and picked up a bag for him, and I was surrounded by security. They were asking me a whole lot of questions about the meat that was in the bag. So I was just like, here, take the bag. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
He ended up getting arrested. He ended up losing his job. And I thought, okay, that's the end of it. Now you got to realize you don't have a job now. You really got to get your life together, right?
Yeah.
Couple of weeks later, I got a call from reception at my job telling me that the police were there to see me. So I'm like,
Oh,
see me? What? You
right.
know?
Why? Uh huh.
I was arrested on my job for stealing stolen property, for receiving stolen property. So I was taken to jail, and I had to
On
call
the
my mama.
bag. The
Yeah.
bag that you were picking up for him.
hmm I
Oh
got
my
arrested for
goodness.
it. So I'm now in jail having to call my mom.
Oh,
And I'm like, listen, I need you to come sort this out. I need a lawyer. I haven't done anything. I'm
sure.
confident that this is not going to result in anything.
Right.
Um, so I'm thinking she's going to send a lawyer to the jail. No, no, no. She came right on down there. got on the telephone behind the glass, and she said one sentence to me: "Why do you love everyone else more than you love yourself?"
Woo! Mm, mm, mm. I got goosebumps.
I couldn't
Whew.
respond. I felt like I had just been in the ring with Mike Tyson and I got knocked out like 2 seconds in.
Oof.
Like, what do
Oof.
you say to that? So now I'm left having to go back to my cell and sit there and wait for things to work itself out, but
Oof.
sit with that, right? Just sit in that. And I
Mm.
realized, okay, this wasn't me,
Yeah.
but the reason why I'm here is because of the decisions that I've made. All of the decisions that I've
Mm.
made over the last 10 years now has resulted in me
Mm.
being arrested on my
In this
job
moment.
and being in jail. It is what it is, and I have to
Mm.
take ownership for that. So when I left jail, because I wasn't charged, it was essentially a fishing expedition, right? And
Right.
I understand the process, but I don't have respect for it. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Because
Sure,
like you
sure.
didn't have to arrest me on my job.
Right. You could have asked me questions. You could have, there's so
Right,
many things you could have done before
right.
that.
So I reached out to a coach that I had come in contact with when I was trying to get my
Mm.
boyfriend some help, right?
Okay.
And she saw me and she had said to me, "Sis, you are broken." And I don't say that
Wow.
lightly, but I see you are broken and I want to help you. And I was like,
Wow.
"Girl, I'm good. I don't need your help." You know what I mean? I
That's
wasn't in
hard to
that space.
receive. Yeah, that's hard
Yes.
to receive.
But she was the first person I called. And I worked with her for 5 months. And working
Wow.
with her allowed me to see that, you know what? I've survived. I've survived a lot. But
Yes.
I was in survival mode, right? I got stuck and I got
Mm.
comfortable being in survival mode, not even realize I had put my life into a holding pattern. The reason why my relationships were all coming up crazy is because I hadn't worked on myself. I hadn't taken the time to work on myself. I had
Yes.
resigned myself to being a victim. I had resigned myself to the fact that life was happening to me. So essentially, for 10 years, I was giving away my power. I couldn't do anything about this, right? Then
Yes.
I realized that because listen, I'm a stubborn girl. And the one thing I'm not gonna do after years of abuse is give away my power intentionally, right?
Yes.
So as soon as she said that to me, I was like, okay, we're changing this. I'm taking ownership. Look, I've been through a lot, and a lot of things. A lot of the reasons why I was in those positions is because I didn't love me enough to make better decisions. But I'm going to work on
Mm.
that, and I'm going to start
Yes.
loving me enough to make better
Yes.
decisions for myself.
I love that.
So, as a result of that coaching relationship, I left Bermuda and I moved to England. I've been here 9 years. I dragged
Wow.
my boyfriend out here with me, and he has also been in recovery for 9 years.
Hey, amazing.
We are married. We have two beautiful children
Ah!
together, and life is amazing.
Oh
And
my gosh.
I spent years, 9 years, working on myself, working on my narratives,
Oof.
working on the way that I think, working on the way that I allow my emotions to drive me, working on the narratives that I've held so comfortably that have kept me stuck, right?
Yes.
And once I got to a place where I saw how much value I brought to the table, I start really auditing everything in my life, including my
Yeah.
job. I came to England. I worked
Mm.
very hard, and in 2 short years, I was a manager in a top 10 insurance syndicate at Lloyd's of London. And for those who
Wow.
don't know, Lloyd's of London is the oldest insurance institution in the world. So for me, as a
Wow.
foreign black woman in in in
Huge.
in an institution that is run by white English men,
Sure.
this was the pinnacle of my career, right?
Wow. Like you made it. You have
I
made
made
it.
it. But even in that, I realized that people didn't respect me, right? I'm amongst white man who had a problem with the fact that I had the audacity to exercise the power that came with my position.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
used
yeah,
to
yeah.
walk into meetings and be called threatening and scary, and my manager give disclaimers because I don't put up with nobody's nonsense. You talk out of the left side of your mouth, I'm gonna put you in your place, and I don't have no problem with that at all. But they had a
Mm,
problem with the fact that here I am, and I'm
sure.
like I said, 5'10". I used to have knee length dreads. I was even called predator at one point in time because of my dreads,
No.
right? But here I am after spending 9 years working on my worth and getting established with who I am and what I bring to the table,
Mercy. Finally loving yourself.
finally loving all of
Woo!
me, the
Yes.
whole self contained hurricane that I am.
I love it.
But here I am, literally getting paid to be disrespected.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I got
No.
tired of it.
Yeah. Good
I
for
ain't doing that.
you.
So I have spent the last 2 years building my coaching business. Last March, I walked
Yes.
away from a 14-year career to go full time in
Wow.
coaching and just stand in my own power. You know,
Yes.
the one thing that I've learned along the way is when I was growing up, I always heard, you're too much, you got too much attitude, you're too this, you're too that. Like I was never
Yes.
accepted. Like everybody wanted to
Mm.
push me into a box so that they were comfortable, right?
Yes. Their own box. Yep.
I have a big personality. I'm a nonconformist. Like I'm a rage against the machine
Mm.
person. And what I've
Yes.
done is take the things that have intimidated people about me that I've hid away to make other people feel comfortable. I have taken those things, that too much attitude, that big
Yes.
mouth,
Yes.
that sassiness, and I've used
Yes.
it in a way that is now making me money. This big
Hey.
mouth is big, so I can stand up and say what I'm gonna say. This sassiness is here because I will not be silenced.
I
And
love
I
it.
just feel like every part of my story I'm so grateful for because it's allowed me to be here, right here today in this moment,
Mm,
showing up
yes.
and serving the women that really need me.
Wow. Letitia. Listen, I first of all, I just want to celebrate you because you are absolutely amazing. Your resilience and your grit is incredible. And it is, you know, it's these stories. Your story is a prime example of what someone's life can be when you take the story you've been given and you own it, and you learn to love and you learn to heal those parts of you, but then use them to help lead you into purpose, into meaning, right? Into now
Hmm.
using that to now grow you and grow other people. I mean, I'm just, I'm speechless, to be honest, because someone's going to hear this and go, how is she, how is she thriving? And I love that you pointed something out, because I think so many people don't realize how they've gotten stuck in that survival mode, right? They're living every day, they're walking every day, but there's something missing, right? Or they're living, just as like you said, as a victim in survival and not thriving, and we were created to thrive. And so I wanted to ask you, what what drew you to be able to come to a place where you could share your story, and in a way that brings power and inspiration, and not throw you into a dark corner, which a lot of people are afraid, right? They're afraid to share their story because they're afraid that if they unbox that, right, that they're going to be overwhelmed. So can you tell me a little bit about how you're able to do that?
I remember someone saying to me that nothing about my journey is ever lost. Like there's a reason for
Mm,
everything.
yeah.
And I sat back because there used to be a time where I literally used to say, why me? Like, why am I going through this? Like, why,
Yes.
why? But then I realized, why not me? because I've shown the
Mm.
resilience. I'm shown that I'm
Yes.
too stubborn. Listen, it's not about anything else that the fact that I am stubborn. I ain't quitting.
Yes.
And I think I've seen it time and time again that when I have shared my story, it has helped people tremendously.
Mm.
And there was a time last year, if I'm honest, that a coach told me it feels like I'm hiding in my business. And I realized that, right? Like
Mm.
maybe I am. Because I remember when I started my business, there was always this fight like, what do I share? Like, do I tell
Mm.
people what I've been through? What if people that know me are shocked and feel some way about it and talk
Yeah.
about it and judge me and all of
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
stuff? But the thing is, I went full time last year. I ain't got time to hide. I got bills to
To
pay.
pay.
So
That
when my
motivates you to show up.
listen, my coach, she challenged me. She said, go out there and share your story. I want you to get on 50 podcasts and just share your story. And she gave me 3 months to do it. I
Wow.
told you I'm stubborn. 6 weeks later,
You're determined.
yes, I'm stubborn. I'm gonna earn it. Like some people, don't use that word. It's negative. No, that's what keeps my feet going, one foot in
Yes,
front of the other.
yes. I
Right.
love it.
So 6 weeks later, I had 50 podcasts done. I had like 30 more scheduled in my
Oh
my
my
calendar, and it's
goodness.
just been, this has been a journey of healing and really understanding that actually,
Mm.
you know what, I'm so grateful that I've been chosen to
Oh,
be
I
on
love
stages and
that.
share my story, because there are so many of us that have gone through the same thing, if not worse, and don't have the
Mm.
courage to share their story.
Yes,
So,
yes.
like I said to you before, there's things about me that people always used to make me feel bad about. Like, I don't
Yeah,
have this voice for no reason. And I
yeah.
I had to show my gratitude for where I am today. And my husband was in Narcotics Anonymous for years. He still is an active member. But one of the things they say is you keep what you have by giving it away. And
Mm.
I
Whew, it's
realize
good. That's
now
so good.
how powerful that is. So this
Yeah.
journey of sharing my story and giving other people hope and inspiration has allowed me to get to a place where the emotions that were attached to my story are no longer there. It's only about the lessons that I've learned along the way.
Mm. Mm. Woo. That's so good. Have you do you find that you're still learning lessons every time you share it? Do you find that things, you know, lessons keep coming out or you keep seeing something from a different perspective you hadn't seen it before?
If I'm honest, no. And the reason why I say that is I've
Yeah.
refined my story to the point where it's on autopilot. So I'm telling the same
Sure.
story.
Sure.
However, I am in the middle of writing a book. And as I
Yes.
dig through
Ooh.
those
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
chapters, sometimes it's almost unbelievable that
Mm. Feels
I'm here
unreal. Yeah.
telling my story.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Wow. Wow. That is, I mean, that's so powerful. And, I think that that journey for you, I believe that writing your book journey is going to be such a powerful moment for you. And I can't wait. I can't wait for you to launch it and to buy my copy and to read it. So I just want to encourage you to continue to do that. And I do want to thank you because you said something earlier that there are people who are struggling to find the courage to share their story. And earlier in season 1, episode 2, I think it was, one of the guests said something that I just, it's just stuck with me. But she said, there is someone assigned to your voice. There is someone assigned to your story. And Leticia, I really believe that someone's going to hear this, someone's going to watch this, and it's going to give them that courage, right? You are going to be that defining moment for someone else, right? You're going to be that mirror for someone else, just like your friend was, right? Just like your mom was in that moment. She said something that literally shifted your course. It allowed you to pivot and allowed you to continue on a path towards your healing, towards your freedom, towards owning who you are and loving who you are, and being able to live a life no longer a survivor, but someone who's thriving. So I am so blessed to have had you on.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, before we jump off, please tell us where we can find you. And yeah, let's go from there.
Yeah, so my website is blackrosecoaching.com, and my Instagram handle is also blackrosecoaching. Black is spelled BLAQUE. It's my nickname. Like everyone in
Ah.
Bermuda has a nickname, so here we are.
I'm glad you said that, because I was gonna ask you. I was like, is there a significance behind the name? Because names matter. So
Well, it's two prong, right? So
yes,
obviously including who I am into my brand, but Black Rose is something that is usually a depiction of death,
yeah.
right? Like most people, why would you want a black rose? But that's significant in my business. It's about the death
Mm.
of the narratives and the habits that do not serve us so that we
So
can
good.
step into our
Hey.
power.
Yes. Yes. I love that. I love that. So yes, you can find Leticia at Black Rose Coaching on Instagram or blackrosecoaching.com. And listen, I know that if you've inspired me today, and I know you'll continue to inspire people. So thank you so much, Leticia. I'm gonna send you backstage, and
Okay.
we'll chat.
Thank you
Thank you
for
so
having
much.
me.
Yes, girl. All right. Listen, I don't know about you, but I do want to say that we are incredible beings. God has really gifted us with the ability to heal and to move past difficulty in ways that are extraordinary. Just to sit here and listen to her story again gives me goosebumps. It moves me and motivates me to look at my own story, to look at my own life, to identify what areas of my life do I still need healing from, because that is where joy is going to come from. Being able to thrive, move from a place of survival to a place of thriving. And I just want to encourage you tonight to be challenged to look at your own story, to realize, and no matter where you find yourself, to recognize that you can experience growth, you can experience healing, you can experience transformation. She is living proof of this. And I just want to encourage you tonight. And so I want you to continue to follow her and continue to look at her journey as she continues to build and live on purpose. As always, I want to remind you that there's some ways that you can tangibly support What's Your Story. And there's some free options, which are just sharing. Click the share button. It takes very little effort. But what it does is it allows other people to know that What's Your Story live exists, that it's here. The other thing you can do is subscribe to the YouTube channel, and it allows people to, again, know that What's Your Story exists and to be able to be inspired and have the experiences that you've had while you've been watching and participating. And one of the last things that you can do is you can go onto Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and find What's Your Story live and rate and review the podcast. What it does is it really does help people find it. It helps people know what has it been like for you to journey with these stories. And so I would love if you could do that for me. The last option is to join our family on Patreon. It is a membership-based subscription for as little as $4.99, $5 a month. You have exclusive access to different things, and we get to have an opportunity to just give you exclusive content, merch, bonus episodes. You get a chance to help figure out what happens on the show. You play a part in building this show. And so I'm just excited for whatever God has in store. And so as we end tonight, you know what I'm going to say. Purpose is found in knowing, owning, and sharing your story. So the question is, are you ready to share yours? See you next week.